Hello, everyone. It is your substitute host, Chase Seegmiller, on the M42 Adventures podcast. Rick had to step away and take care of some business today, so I took over one of the podcasts that we couldn't reschedule. But it turns out that it might be somebody that will be fun for me to interview. So it's going to be Tom Kubiniec, and he is the owner and CEO of a company called Secrecy Tactical, where they have a unique storage system for firearms that the military has adopted. They have a civilian aspect, and we're going to talk to him about that. But he's also done a whole bunch of other things, like, he's a hunter, deals with USCCA racing cars. He's also going for a land speed record to the Bonneville Salt Flats. So we'll talk to him a little bit about all that stuff and see where it goes. I'm really excited to jump on here with Tom. Let's get to it. All right. Here with Tom Kubiniec. And, there's a few things that we have here about you. You've kind of, as you can see from the background that you have, you've found yourself into the firearms world for a few different reasons, but this one has to do with a business, and I believe it's called Secrecy Tactical. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that? I want to know exactly what got going on. I know you have, a few different businesses and lots of outdoor adventure aspects of your life, but I want to know about that first.
So Secrecy, I started in 2001. And as of right now, we are the global leader in military weapon storage, armory design. And then in the retail side, we're one of the fastest growing retail brands in the firearms industry. We came out of the gate strictly as a defense contractor and patented our what we call cradle grid technology, our unique storage solution in 2008. We were a 4-person company. By 2011, we were the primary supplier to the U.S. military. The system was designed working very closely with U.S. Army Special Forces. We had a contract for an 18-month contract to work with them to solve their armory problems. Cradle grid was the solution and is now standard throughout all U.S. military armories. And it really changed the way armories work. It completely revolutionized how their systems worked. And then in 2014, made the decision to take this into the consumer market, really out of frustration. We had so many guys, a lot of the operators would get out of the military and they come to say, Tom, we want your system I want it in my house. Our big military weapon racks just aren't that efficient for home use. So we took the cradle grid system, and now we have a line of lightweight, modular, fast access safes, a couple of full-size safes. We have one, what we call the true fire safe, and it isn't gun safe fire ratings are complete BS. We actually make a true fire safe. It's very expensive, it's very heavy, but it does give you some protection. And now we're just launching a whole line of conversion kits or upgrade kits so that people with traditional gun safes that really don't hold guns very well can upgrade the interior of their safe to the Secrecy Tactical system.
So like the normal, wooden and slot system and stuff like that that's inside the safe, you guys can put this whole entire system inside of a safe.
We do. You remove the interior, which is quite simple to do, and our system installs. It's we've got videos posted. The conversion kits, that goes live for sale at the end of this month. Oh. So we are building out, all the kits are built. We've got all the videos shot. Everything goes live at the end of the month.
Well, that's awesome. Now, you say that, you started off as the defense contractor. So what kind of problems were they running into that you basically jumped in to solve? Like, what was their biggest issues?
Yeah, my background's not firearms. I was a professional musician. I was a guitar player for many years. And
right?
I was a metalhead. Yeah,
nice.
So I played in bands all over the East Coast. I ended up out in Hollywood playing. I developed tendonitis, forced me out of the music business. I took a job telemarketing and sales. I started a little telemarketing company selling computer supplies, grew that, morphed it, sold it, did another company. I ended up selling laptop storage cabinets and big racks for storing backup tapes for big corporations. And it was the laptop storage cabinets that were selling a lot. The HIPAA laws that came out, hospitals had to lock this stuff up. And I got a call from a guy who says, hey, can you store an MP5? I'm like, sure. What's an MP5? And he started laughing. It's a little submachine gun. And I'm like, who is this? He was with the FBI. And we started talking. And he said, we got a lot of problems. I said, well, let me look at it. So I started doing some research. Now, this is before Google. This is back in the Yahoo days. Trying to research stuff wasn't as easy back then, but I'm finding these references that the military were struggling. We were transitioning from the M16 standard battle rifle to the M4, which is going from a 39-inch, very standard rifle to what really is a modular weapon system. The M4 is available in different lengths, different form factors. Things are adjustable. You've got, like in SOCOM, the SOP mod attachments that go with the gun and need to be stored with the gun. Traditional military weapon racks had no flexibility, no ability to adapt to any changes. So we looked at the problem, 6 ways silly for quite a while, and then walked the aisles of Home Depot. Like I called it Home Depot development, to say, how does the world store stuff? And really started playing with, how can we solve this problem? And I had competitors working on the same problem, and they came up with a solution. There were 2 of them, and their solution was a modular weapon rack with different brackets to hold the different guns. So one of them had 71 different brackets that would go back to hold all the different guns. The other had 270. You had to take screwdrivers and tools to reconfigure and do all these things. And those systems ultimately failed miserably because of the level of complexity. Military armories are dynamic. They change. Things change a lot. Once you've got their weapon rack in place, when it's brand new, it works fine. But the minute you're MTO, the minute your guns, things change, you can't adjust them because the military just can't go out and buy new accessories. Buying stuff takes time and is difficult. So the racks over time would become less and less efficient because you had the wrong brackets in. What we did is come up with one very simple moving part, our upper cradle. It holds everything from the smallest submachine gun up to most shoulder launch systems, mortar cannons. It adjusts in the rack on the fly. There's no tools required. So with our system, the armor could walk up to a weapon rack with any gun in his hand, open the rack, adjust it, put the gun in, and walk away. It's properly stored. Whereas our competitors, they'd walk up to a rack. If it didn't have the right bracket in it, they're going to need a set of screwdrivers and tools. It's going to take them 20 minutes to make any changes. So it really came down to, for us, was simplicity. And that's really what Cradle Grid brings to the table. It's infinitely adjustable, and it properly stores all guns. Now, in the consumer world, and the reason we went in the consumer world is, American gun owners are facing the exact same problem the military faced, but 12 years later. Guns are becoming modular. They're becoming adaptable. Everybody's got optics. The amount of gear associated with modern firearms is growing exponentially. Yet all traditional gun safes, I don't care what brand, they're all basically the same. It's a MDS or MDF board that's cut with all these little W's, and they staple leather on it or vinyl on it, and that's all your guns go in. And it's not adjustable. If it is, it's at a macro level. You can adjust the whole shelf a little bit. But that's not what guns look like anymore. And the gun safe industry has never changed. They keep making this stuff, and it just doesn't work. So our system comes in with our Cradle Grid system, individually adjustable for each gun. Every gun is stored free and clear. Guns never touch guns. You've got room for optics up to a 5-inch thermal imaging, a scope. You've got the ability to change, reconfigure at any time. And then you've got, through all of our bins and storage trays, which are commercial off-the-shelf products, you can integrate gear and gun storage. So you can get all your guns in the safe, but then in and around behind your guns, you can get all your gear. And that just gives people an incredible level of flexibility, an incredible level of adaptability. So as we always say, if you're going to take the time, train, own firearms, get a storage solution that works for you. The gun safe industry forces you to do things their way. Our system is a building block. The Fort Bragg third group, they call it the Lego rack, because they got the armor start at the bottom like Legos and build what they need. The Marines out of Pendleton call it the Tetris rack. They just, same thing. They start at the bottom, and they just the guys just build what they need. And it's that level of flexibility that has made Secure the military global leader. And now in the consumer side, we're going to need a few years, but we're growing very quickly.
I was reading through a little bit of a story with the system that you kind of developed. did you start out using it in like an apartment building? Like, was there
No,
something like that you needed to utilize it in a civilian setup platform, like you were trying to secure something in your own home, or is that what you're trying to do now
that's
for
what we're doing
the
now. I mean,
civilian consumer
it's
market?
initially it was all strictly military. It never occurred to us to go into retail. It's crazy. I wish I'd gone into retail in 2005.
Oh, okay.
We really didn't get going in retail till 2016, 2017. Even then, we slowly were moving into this.
Okay.
And then over the last 4 years, it's really grown tremendously. Retail is now much bigger than our military side of the business. The military side, and yeah, global leader, military weapons storage sounds impressive. It's a niche market. It's not a
Yeah.
massive market.
Now, did you have to? Was there a different approach to how you design it for the civilian market, or is it pretty much the exact same all the way across the platform?
It's the same system. The cradle
Okay.
grid technology it's just two moving parts. It's a
Nice.
back wall grid you can see behind me,
Mm-hmm.
our upper cradle and the stock base. It's extremely simple. The only thing we do with consumer products is we package it differently. Our military weapon racks the Model 84 weapon rack is a, 7 feet by 3 feet by 15 inches deep, modular, bifolding door steel rack.
Okay.
People can buy those, and we sell a lot of them to consumers. But for
Mhm.
most consumers, we broke that down into smaller 6-gun safes. Now, the gun safe industry takes a different path. In the gun safe industry, though, you go to a gun safe dealer, and they always tell you, buy the biggest safe you can afford. You're going to grow into it. You're going to get more guns. Buy the biggest one you can get. We're like, that's just so stupid. That's
Right.
just so dumb. It's like telling a newlywed couple, buy a Suburban because eventually you're going to have kids. It's crazy. We're of the mindset, buy what you need. And if you get more guns, buy another one. There's huge advantages to what we call decentralized storage. Our safes are lightweight and modular, relocatable. They're shallower, they're not as deep. So our safes fit in closets, they fit in alcoves, they fit in places in your home that you normally wouldn't think about, but also it's places where thieves wouldn't look. So a traditional gun safe, the mentality is you buy this great big safe, you put it in your basement, or even worse, put it in your den. You see photographs. I see ads like for Liberty and these safe companies with this huge safe next to a pool table with windows, view of the mountains, river rock fireplace. It's beautiful. And the ad's talking about heritage and heirloom and wonderful. And I'm like, this is a safe. And you're advertising to everybody that comes into your home. Here's my safe. This is where all my stuff is.
Yeah,
It's
it freaks me out
nuts.
when I see videos when people
It's
are at their
crazy.
safe and opening their safe. I'm like, now they know where
Are
your
you
safe
out of your
is at.
mind? Now,
It's a complex thing, but I feel like they just don't pay attention to that aspect.
it's violating the very simplest basic principles of security. Number one is secrecy. Our system is designed so that when you install our safes in your home, they're going into closets. They're going into locations. I mean, somebody can come to my house. They could have a party, people over. They would never know I own firearms. I'm never more than 2.5 seconds from being armed in my house. We call the term decentralized storage because a big heavy safe in your basement in your den, if I'm in your home, I can open that safe and remove a gun from it in under 30 seconds. Typically, it's 18 to 22 seconds for me to remove a gun from a safe. I know nothing about safes, locks, security, but I do know that a simple circular, my DeWalt 20-volt or 20-volt DeWalt circular saw with a carbide blade, it's a blade that's meant for the concrete industry to cut rebar on job sites. The blade costs about $18. Put
I've
that
seen
in
them
that
cut
saw.
through safe walls.
I can cut a hole in the side of a safe at the same rate I can cut 3/4 inch plywood. It's that fast. I simply
quick.
cut a hole in the side of the safe, punch the drywall, and remove guns. 18 to 22 seconds. Our safes don't offer more security. They have the same vulnerability. Modern tools will do that, but our safes are smaller. And as it works out, the most secure location in your home for storing guns is also some of the best locations from a home defense, from a tactical advantage. You look at a house, people always think, your master bedroom, you want to put guns in there, keep it's the least secure room in your home. Master bathroom, master bedroom, thief breaks into a home, they're going to the master bathroom first, master bedroom, closet, home office, den, dining room, and then they're out. Usually they're out in 9 minutes. That's the average. So we look at home defense. You
9
want maybe
minutes.
one gun in your master bedroom and a small handgun safe next to your bed. Next, I look at a kitchen. Thieves ignore kitchens. I've got an agile 6-gun cabinet in my pantry. I've got a pretty good sized pantry, and there's 6 guns in there, one of which is a defense firearm racked, ready to roll. It's an AR-15. Closet by my front door. I've got another agile cabinet, 6 guns. I've got some hunting rifles, a lever gun. I've also got a Mossberg pump, and I've got an AR-15 that are both ready to roll. At my front door, if somebody's getting cute, I'm not going to let them in. All of a sudden, they want to kick it in. I've got fast access right there. And thieves ignore closets. Look at crime data. They're very secure locations. And the whole principle of decentralized kind of walks through that scenario of why not take smaller safes and place them where it actually makes sense. And that's kind of what we bring to the table, in that we're not a gun safe company. We don't have 60 years of experience building these great big monstrosities. We build armories. We build, rapid response reaction force teams, fast access solutions for the Marine Corps. We do all the U.S. embassies, which are all discrete, fast access gun storage systems. Obama, in his years, he said the Marines can't carry M4s in the embassies. He thought it was too provocative. Oh. So we've got the embassy in Baghdad. He wants the Marines to not have M4s, which is freaking crazy. So they came to us, and we designed, using our fast box solution, every single room in that building has a fast box with AR-15 and a shotgun, or 2 AR-15s, or M4s for the military. But
you solved the issue.
Yeah, well, that's our background, is solving those problems, and we just bring those years of experience, those 23 years of building military armories, to our consumer products. It's radically different than a gun safe, but we think people need to start thinking differently. The gun safe industry has never changed. What they're making no longer works. I'm not sure it ever worked that good, and they've lost touch with reality, capacity. We're doing our gun safe conversion kit. So I've got 6 safes here in the warehouse. So we've been converting and working and testing. A 40 gun safe would not hold 17 rifles. And these were not crazy, like monster rifles. This was a mix of some ARs, a couple long range, and a bunch of lever guns without optics. 17 guns.
I saw that post.
There's no safe that will hold its stated capacity. Our system, again, in the military, if I got to build a system that holds 240 rifles, it damn well better hold 240 rifles, or I'm not getting paid. We bring the same thing. We call it truth in storage. Our 6-gun agile safe holds 6 guns. Plus, you can add handguns. You can do more with it, but it's accurate capacity. The next piece is fire ratings. And a lot of people don't know this. Fire ratings are complete nonsense. It's complete nonsense. No, your guns will not survive a hot fire. They just won't.
Right.
Even if they look okay. If you got like metal frame guns, ARs or chassis guns, I would say, do you know how hot your safe got? Now, we did some testing. We cooked off a safe, a 90-minute safe. 90-minute safe went 12 minutes in our test. Now, our fire never got above 980 degrees. We had temp probes in the. We just built basically a fire. We simulated a room. A house fire can push 2,000 degrees.
Yeah, exactly.
That safe would have gone 5 to 7 minutes. But in 12 minutes, the safe was at 400 degrees. We put the fire out, and we're out the Secure Ranch. It's a big hunting property. We did the test, and then we were grilling some hot dogs and letting the safe cool down. 20 minutes later, the safe was 720 degrees inside because that hot metal kept transferring heat.
Yeah.
Well, if you didn't have a temp probe in there, you'd never know how hot it got. Yeah. At 720 degrees, a lot of things happen. At 380 degrees, hardened steel can lose you're changing the temper of the steel.
Right.
So now your bolt and your trigger group may not be hardened anymore. Your barrels are annealed. That's actually a process to soften the metal so it can withstand the shock of the discharge of the round and the whip and all the stuff that the barrel goes through. It maintains a level of flexibility.
Right.
Above 680 degrees, annealing breaks down. So now your barrels, if they went to 700 and cooled quickly, now they're brittle. You got a 300 Win Mag with that, right up next to your cheek, and you're about to pull the trigger of a gun that was in a fire. You don't know if that's going to blow up. So any guns in a fire should never be shot again. But the idea that these things are fire rated is complete nonsense. We do make a true fire safe. It's a double-walled safe, double-walled steel filled with a concrete composite. It's, it's 1,500 pounds. It's a beast. When you buy it, there's no curbside delivery. When you buy it from us, the price includes white glove service delivered and installed in your home by trained professionals. We do not allow our customers to install the safe. It's too heavy. It's too dangerous. And
Makes sense.
we sell a chunk of them. Some people want that. I don't think you need it. It's cheaper to buy insurance. I mean, seriously. And
that's logical, because if you're not going to be able to shoot them again,
right?
The
risk of open flame fire in a home is so rare and getting more and more rare every year. When you look at, insurance data is where we get insurance claims, where we get all of our fire data. And last I looked, that was last year. We look at this. I look at this annually. 87% of fires in homes, the fire is contained to a pot on the stove or the oven. The insurance claim was for smoke. So you got,
that makes sense.
13% the fire is somewhere else. Most of the causes of the fire are human error. Smoking, cooking is number one, then smoking is number two. The actual rate of open flame in a room, like in your house burning, is incredibly rare. When that does occur, the bulk of those are put out within 15, 20 minutes. In most houses, if you live in a city with a paid firefighting force, they have assets at your address usually in 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. I have a volunteer firefighting force in my small town I live in. I'm 11 minutes to have assets on that fire. So the odds of your house burning down are so rare. But when you decentralize your storage, it's another advantage. You've got guns stored in different locations.
Yeah, less
Worst case
likely
scenario,
to be.
you've got one safe that's in a fire. You might lose a few guns, but you don't lose your collection.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I always think about. In my house, very dispersed. But that's more from like a tactical advantage.
Right.
Much like the way you described your house, and it's one of those things too that I also just don't want to be at the loss of a lot of them at once. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if somebody does find one, it's only one. And so, I mean, then they'd have to break into it at that point in time. Yeah. But, I wouldn't even mind something that, was logically buriable, and lockable and sealed, and airtight, just so that I have stuff out in the middle of nowhere where things could happen. You know what I mean?
Well, I've been asked many times, like, so what's the ultimate for, I want true fire rated, for guys who have good sized gun collections. I always tell the same thing. Buy like a Connex box or a Tricon. They sell them in surplus. It's like a shipping container, but it's 1/3 or 1/4, or you get a 20-foot shipping container and bury it.
Yeah.
You got a yard, if you let them bury it with a steel doors and a ramp, build stairs down to it. And you've got a bunker now that we've actually built quite a few gun rooms in buried containers.
Nice.
And you can do that and make it very secret and fairly secure. Nice. Secrecy is where most of your security comes from.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you're underground. The aspect of being underground for me is I don't think people realize, how vulnerable you are in a inside of a house above ground. I mean, most of our homes, most of our military rounds will make it through any of those walls.
Yeah, unless you're in a solid brick house.
Exactly. Even then, it only takes a certain amount of fire to get through it.
Yep. And windows.
So it's I see all these houses with all these windows, and that's the first thing I think about. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I wouldn't be able to find a safe place. You know what I mean? Like,
that's funny.
It's complex, but then, you get into some things with the military and they've got thermal. I mean, you're not safe no matter what. So,
right.
It's a complex thing when you think about your home, but, I also think about the aspects of being able to see out of your home to see if something's happening. So it's
for most people, your average homeowner looking at firearms for home defense, number one things you can do, and I get asked this a lot for home defense, talking about what guns you get, where do you put them? We're talking about this is, look, the number one thing you can do if you want to make your home more secure is motion sense lights And not just one light by the door, but if you're going to get them there cheap enough, light up your house at night. So when somebody walks up to your house in the evening, light it up. Trim your bushes away from the front of your house. Do your landscaping. So if your house is buried in bushes and overgrowth, you're asking for something. They've got the ability to sneak in. Yep. If it's not lit up, they've got the ability. Most break-ins occur. People are just quietly going in, breaking a window, finding it. I mean, unlocked doors, number one. Yes. But simply lighting up your house. Because again, thieves, your average burglar, average robber, think of them like a bully in high school. They're not looking for a fight. They're looking for the weakest target. They're looking for the easiest mark. They walk up to your house or they're casing it and all of a sudden lights come on. They move to the next house. They're walking up a street, maybe walking up to each house, nights before the robbery, seeing who has lights. If your house lights up, they're not coming back. So it's simple things. Do the obvious stuff first. The last piece of the puzzle is you having to get a firearm to defend yourself. And that's not where I don't ever anticipate having to do that. I train for it. I've got the ability to, but I live in Mayberry. I live in a little town that's basically Mayberry. It's pretty low key, simple town, and I don't anticipate ever having to be in that situation. But I do. I enjoy the training, so I do shoot a lot.
Practice makes prepared, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. Now, from an aspect of the civilian side, how do people get a hold of the Secure storage? We're
all over social media. We're well known in the digital world. They just Google Secure. Will come up. And then securegunStorage.com is our retail website. Securetactical.com is our military site, which is the military site is extremely simple. It's an old site. We haven't changed it much because we're so well known. I mean, we own that space, so we don't spend a lot in marketing and going crazy with the military side.
That makes sense.
And they're not out surfing the web for weapon storage. It's it's just done differently.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Now, I wanted to get into the aspects. So from what it says about you, you've started many businesses, right?
This is my third company, we'll say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, but you didn't go to college or anything, right?
No. And I was a guitar player in high school. And
so you tried to have some fun when you were young.
Well, I was pretty serious about it. I was playing, I got out of high school. I was practicing 6 to 8 hours a day, really focused on becoming the best guitar player I could be. I wanted to be a musician. And I graduated in 1980. I was playing in bars when I was 16 years old in bands, and got out of high school and was playing locally. And I sent a demo, or guys at Guitar Player Magazine got one of my demos, and they did an article on me in 1984 as one of the best. It's called a Spotlight article. Tom Kubiniec, one of the best unknown guitar players out there. Nice. And the phone started ringing. I moved to California and really thought my career was going to take off. And I developed just chronic tendonitis, and it killed it. And I was playing too much. Years later, going to the gym, working with trainers, getting in shape. If you go to the gym, you do shoulders and upper body really hard on Monday. You don't go back to that till Wednesday or Thursday, because your muscles need to basically you broke them down. Now they're going to strengthen and grow back, and that's how you get stronger.
Yeah, your recovery is as important as the
practicing
workout.
and playing are different. Playing is playing songs. Practicing is metronome. You're focused. You're working on drills. You're really focused on the precision of playing. I was practicing every day for hours and hours and hours, and I completely blew the tendons out of my forearms. And I've battled with it for almost 40 years. Recently, I actually developed my own trigger point therapy device. It's out of frustration. I've spent a ton of money. I've seen every expert in the country on tendonitis, and I finally took it. I started doing my own thing, and I developed a device which I'm going to patent and market for treating tendonitis. Treating yourself, because it actually works. I'm pain-free in my elbows, and pretty much I'm playing guitar, not like I used to, but it's going really well. So that's going to be my retirement program. Will be marketing a tennis elbow tendonitis treatment tool.
Nice. So now when it came down to not going to college, did you have any business mentors or anything like that?
No. That kind of you... Sure. It's
Okay.
I mean, I'm not a big believer. I think college is a scam. I'm one of those
Yeah,
guys.
I
It's
I get that.
again, if you're spending 8 grand, 6 grand a year, okay. Spending 58 grand a year to go to college, are you freaking nuts? Well, I mean, it's just, I mean, and then, okay, well, if you're going to be an attorney, then that's okay. If you're going to be a doctor, okay, well, maybe.
Right.
If you're
But
going
then
to
you have
law
to also
school,
believe in those fields.
if you're going to law school right now, you're nuts because
Oh,
AI is going to decimate the law industry. It's already happening. And I've got a lot of
wow.
friends in that industry that are already seeing pools, rooms of young associates are going to be gone because
Hmm.
research takes seconds. But anyhow, that's no, but I just don't buy into the value proposition. At Secure, we do not require a college education to work at Secure. We do not ask about it. If somebody goes to, we have a handful of schools, Harvard, Stanford, some schools that we will not hire somebody who graduates from those schools under any circumstance. I don't want the baggage. I
Hmm.
don't. Any school that blocks free speech, any school that's teaching these kids this entitled bullshit, this crazy, crazy, crazy. It's not education; it's indoctrination. I don't know what it is. I don't
Right.
want. I don't want the baggage.
I
People
was
come
always
here to kick ass. You come here again. I always tell everybody, I don't pay you to work. I pay for results, and that's what we
right.
expect. Everybody works towards results. I mean, it's a remote company. Most of my staff is remote all over the country. We've only got a few people here in Syracuse.
Oh, nice. So, I mean, that makes it kind of fun, actually, because you have that
It's
diversity in the
there's
workplace
pluses and
without,
minuses.
yeah.
The ability to hire nationally means I can find great people,
Mhm.
but not having everybody in the same building every day makes, I call it DNA dissolution, or your dissolving of your DNA. And it's who we are as a company. It's really hard to maintain. You got to work really hard to keep everybody understanding who we are, what we do, why we do it. And it's critical to growing a business, to harnessing creativity in your teams. It's really hard to do remote. We do a very good job of it. I would prefer to have more people in the office. Um, but when you got a business that's based out of Syracuse, New York, there's nobody left here. I mean, the exodus out of central New York's been pretty dramatic. So there's not, it's hard to find people here.
I'm sure, rising technology. Back in the early days, I'm sure it would have been a lot harder to manage a team,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
remotely
yeah.
all over the place. But all the different things they have nowadays, there's a lot of different
It,
platforms
it,
for teaming up
it
and
is. It is.
correlating and things like that.
It is. It's hard. I think it's hard for the workers too. I mean, I can't work from home. Even during the pandemic, I came to work. I was the only guy here. I was here in the office every day because when I stay home, I'm just not effective. I got too many distractions. It's not. I'm dad. I'm husband. I'm home guy when I'm home. I've got a 25-minute drive to my office, and that's my transition to go from the home guy to the work guy. And I love having that transition, that time.
I like that. I go home and my wife often asks me like, "What was the best part of your day?" And I'm like, "Coming home."
Oh,
I'm like, I don't really necessarily talk about work when I get home. I'm just like, it was
yeah.
work, and now it's over. You
I've
know.
got. It's funny, but when I lived in California, my first business, I lived very close, 5-minute drive. Spend a lot more time talking about your day, about work, about this. Having
Mhm.
25 minutes, I process it all out. When I come home, we never talk about work. Yeah, just it's. I also like having that time in the car. I don't listen to music. I don't listen. Sometimes a podcast, but I'm usually working on a presentation. I'm rehearsing something in my head,
Yeah,
and
I do a lot of that. A lot of kind of like management and mitigation of different tasks inside my brain while
yeah,
I'm driving.
yeah.
It's
It's
almost like you can go on autopilot, but you don't want to really say that because it makes it sound like you're not paying attention. But yeah,
right.
it's
No, but
still.
I know I've got a lot of vintage cars. I restore cars as a pastime. So in summer, it's usually I grab a convertible of some sort, and maybe a cigar, and I'll do my drive home will be a very enjoyable. Where I live, I'm going through rolling hills and heavily wooded. It's a real pretty area.
Nice. I like that. I like that. Now, I also read something. I've never utilized this approach because I don't know what it is, but it says that you utilize something along the lines of creative conflict for growth in your
It's
employee dynamic?
yeah, it's tough to get people to challenge the owner. And
Mm,
creative conflict is allowing people to argue stuff out, and you want to encourage them to argue passionately for what they believe. Problem when you're the owner is, especially with newer people, they don't want to tell the owner he's wrong. And I tell everybody that works for me out of the gate is, look, especially, I run the marketing department. That's my background, sales and marketing. Tell my
mhm.
young marketers, say, look, in a vacuum, I'm going to do exactly what I want to do, and I'm going to do it really fast and just get it done. The problem is sometimes I'm wrong. I'm not always right, and I make mistakes. When you think I'm going in a wrong direction or what we're talking about is going wrong, you need to step up and say, stop, this is wrong. I'm going to listen. We're going to talk about it. I may agree with you, I may not, but I need the input. So we're always talking about, there's no egos here. It's just drive it. But creative conflict is getting your people to a point where we come into a room to solve a problem, and the people have the ability to argue their point passionately. Sounds like they might even be getting mad, but then once the decision is made, everybody steps in line and we move forward with it. All things being equal, the companies that harness creativity will do better. And it's really hard to do because the way humans are raised, certainly in America, and then the whole education system and the corporate system is designed to get creativity out of people and to turn them into people that go with the flow. And it's little kids say the darndest things. You hear goofy stuff come out of kids all the time because they have no filters. They are pure creativity. There's nothing stopping them. And then it's like, oh, Billy, don't say that. Oh. And then they go to school and they're in kindergarten or first grade, and somebody says something really goofy, because kids do. All the other kids laugh at them. And they're like, oh, I guess I won't do that again. And then you're going through school, you got all your cliques, and you want to be like everybody else and conform. Then you come into college, it's the same thing. You got your dorm, you got your frats, and everybody's trying to be and position themselves to be part of this herd. Then you get in the corporate boardrooms and corporate world where you get these companies where people, they all want to step in line. They all want to be just this certain way to fit in. And I want just the damn opposite. I worked with a girl. She was a sales rep, used to call on Green Line Data, was my second company. And she was in my office probably once a quarter, maybe once every 2 months. And they were one of our suppliers. And we talk all the time. We were friends. And I saw her at an event. It was like I don't know what it was. It was a big event with, the bars, mixing drinks, it was outdoors, beautiful setting. And I was talking to her, and I'm like, you're totally different. And she's like, oh, that's just, I got my corporate persona I put on when I'm working. No, this is really who I am. And I didn't say anything, but it really hit me that how sad that is, how awful that is, that she has to put on a persona for her job, and then but she actually is somebody else.
Mhm.
I want my people to be who they are. I use the term band of misfits when talking about the company. I consider myself somewhat of a misfit in the corporate world. I don't buy into any of the standard practices for how a business is supposed to run. I've always kind of done it my own way, but we're a band of misfits. I want the quirkiness. I want the goofiness. I want the personalities. I want all the stuff that comes with it come out in these people, so that when they get a crazy idea, I want them to speak. Let me know what your craziest ideas are, because it's, from the craziest, stupidest ideas, those can come back to some of the best solutions for things. But sometimes sometimes you got to go nuts to come back. A quick way to illustrate that brainstorming session, encourage any of your listeners, if you got to do a brainstorming session, 3 to 5 people, no more, trying to solve a problem, say, all right, guys, set a timer, 3 minutes or 5 minutes. I do a short 3 minutes. I want every possible solution or idea, boom, 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 write them all down, write them on a board. And when that's done, and then you stop, say, all right, guys, I'm going to reset this for 3 minutes. Now, on another board, I want to hear the stupidest, craziest, wackiest things you can come up with to solve this. And you start writing stuff down, and you drive them hard to be crazier, to get farther outside, nuttier. And they're all laughing, they're all having a good time. Then we stop. And I take the two boards and I'm saying, all right, guys, connect these. What goes with what? And now we take our normal ideas and our crazy ideas, and between the two of them, sometimes we can find really good solutions that we wouldn't have seen had I not allowed those people just to be nuts for 3.5 minutes.
Right. It's funny you bring up some of that stuff. Oddly enough, this week's newsletter was, one of the quotes that was in it for M42 Adventures was, "You have to go on and be crazy. Craziness is like heaven," by Jimi Hendrix. And it goes into a whole aspect of, the newsletter and stuff like that. But I really, really like that quote. And as you were going through all that, I'm like, oh, that totally makes sense. But I also wanted to make up another point. Me as a person, like I own a firearm academy. I'm an instructor. I'm expert in pistol. But in that aspect, I'm also a private chef. I just,
Okay.
I was really doing a lot of that inside homes and different aspects before joining on with the M42 Adventures and the Genesis online community that we have. In the aspect of being a chef, private chef, it is a completely different world, different type of people, everything like that, than being a firearm instructor. And what I mean by that is that the type of people that tend to hire a private chef are, on the liberal standpoint of view most of the time. They, a lot of life coaches, a lot of different groups and yoga leaders and things like that end up bringing everybody together for an event, and then we end up cooking for them, right? Well, I kind of couldn't be my full self in that in any of those arenas when it came down to being a private chef. And it's one of the reasons why I moved into the aspect of doing everything outdoors and just being an adventure chef, and more along the lines of teaching people how to do what I do instead of just providing a dinner. Because a dinner,
Right.
that aspect tends to be something that it's a serviceability, but they tend to be in that area. And when I go there, I literally can't be myself. I have to be this different type of person, not share myself fully. And so it is really nice to be in an area where the people that you work with allow you to be completely who you are, and that it doesn't conflict. You don't have to worry about that conflict, because that conflict is hard to deal with. You know what I mean? And I really like that you do that in your business. I think it's something that's important
Well,
in
it's a
a
lot
lot
of
of
people.
aspects.
A lot of people don't think about it. I know a lot of owners. They don't think about. They look at all the people in their company as just it's a resource, human resource. I mean, they know them, they're friends, but you really got to peel it back a little farther and just. I don't want my people just to show up to work. I want them to be for security as part of their life. That they're so committed to it that it's not in a negative, like I'm a workaholic 70 hours a week.
But
Not at all.
passionate.
It's just they wake up in the morning and their gears are turning about things for the company because they're excited about it, because it's fun, and they're getting results. And I allow people the freedom to make a lot of decisions and do things. We also have a big policy here of fail fast. Not
I
don't
like it.
fail or
Yeah.
do it right, is guys, fail fast. Meaning you got an idea, jam it. If it's not quite right, okay, fail and course correct. Make a change. But fail fast. Move. Don't keep doing something that's not working, and don't not do something because you're afraid it might not work. If you're not sure it's going to work, do it in a small scale. Test it. Run with it. Go with it on a small scale.
Be courageous, not insane.
Yeah. Right. And it's driving down the road at 60 miles an hour, and you've got directions to maybe a party you're going to. When you come to a fork in the road, it's not in the directions. You have 3 choices. You can go right, you can go left, you can stop.
Yeah.
Well, the guy that stops to think about it will be the last one at the party. The guy that made the right choice, he's there in 5 minutes. The guy that made the wrong choice drives, also realize, we're going the wrong way. Let's course correct. Take this road. And now the guy that stops, he's dead in the water.
Only guy didn't make it.
That's right. So it's I try to get that with everybody, and I never come down on people. If somebody makes a big mistake here, it's what did you learn? Okay. How are we going to benefit going forward? What are we going to do differently? Okay, let's move.
And if you didn't learn anything, you weren't paying attention.
Right. Well, if you're making mistakes and not learning, I've got a fit problem in the company. That's a different issue. We don't go through. I mean, we're pretty stable. When you make a bad hire, it does happen. We change very
Yeah.
quickly, but for the
Yeah.
most part, we've got a staff here that's, I mean, it's a family. It really is.
That's
I
what
always
it's all
use the
about.
term, we're hiring somebody. Are they one of us? And everybody knows
Yes.
what I mean by that. Are they one of us? Do they think the way we do? Or
Hmm.
can they? Can they develop into this, um, into a secured employee, which is, it's not a cult. It's just, I want people who just love what they do. And we're out to get every single gun in America properly secured. That's our goal.
Yeah.
And
The simplest way you can do it, which is what I really like about your system, is the best, because nobody wants complex,
no,
and if you make it difficult, it'll never go up, or they
yeah,
won't utilize it, and then it's just useless. You know what I mean?
that's
At that point.
that's you nailed it right there. Is I always tell, you got a junk drawer in your kitchen and you open that drawer up, you're going to have a couple screwdrivers, some duct tape, pair of pliers. You keep the simplest tools handy because they
Yeah.
solve the most problems. And that's when we look at weapon storage, keep it the simplest tools handy. And this idea that I know a lot of people I talk to, I got a gun, say, yeah, but I keep the one gun next to my bed, it's not locked. I can demonstrate all day long that a gun in one of our fast access safes is faster access than your unlocked gun, unless
Huh.
you've got your gun exposed wide open, which
Right.
again, if you've got kids or the potential for anybody to ever be in your home, you can't do that. It's just too dangerous.
Yeah.
So many people, I keep a gun in my closet, keep a gun in my drawer. You know what? I'm faster. I'll be armed faster than you opening a drawer and pulling your gun from my safe that I've
Well,
got
the funny
located
thing
next to my
is,
bed. So it's
people
yeah,
don't realize this, but nothing's fast if you don't train for it.
Mhm.
So if you don't go through the
That's right.
aspects of creating a scenario where you need to utilize your firearm, then you never know how long it takes you to do it,
No,
or if you can improve it. And as I don't know who said it originally, but anything measurable can be improved. And so, do it, practice it, create a plan for your home. Like that's a huge thing. It's like you said, open fires in a home are so unlikely, right? I bet you intruders, or a personal protection kind of situation, or self-defense, happens more often than a fire in a home.
it
And
does.
yet we
Statistically, it does.
and yet we all say create a fire escape plan. You know what I mean?
Right?
Like,
No,
eh,
you're so right. Fires are so scary, but the training with the safe is something that we actually did a lot of work with. And all of our fast access safes, we tell everybody, like next to your bed, a fast box or our fast handgun safes is every night in the dark, do your combination slowly,
mhm.
deliberately, open the safe, remove the gun, put it back, close it, go to bed. Do that for the first 30 days every night, then do it once a week. Every time I pull a coat out of my closet, if I'm going in the front hall by my door, I open the door up, I just do the sit combination, and I close it. I've been doing that for so long in the dark with no light at all. I'm so fast. Now, we worked with Gunsight Academy.
All right, we're just taking a quick break here in the middle of this conversation. Wanted to talk about a few things that have happened or are about to happen. So we reached 250 members in the Genesis online community from M42 Adventures, and we have picked a winner. Now, I'm sure most of you can realize that our demographic, even inside the Genesis online community, even though it's for everyone and completely free, so no cost necessary, no payment info, we only make up about 20% of women. So I'm really excited that a woman of that 20%, so roughly 50 members, ended up winning the Genesis 250 giveaway, which includes Elevation 40 Zion 2-night stay at that property, shooting instruction, UTV riding, outdoor cooking experience, and hiking, all up there in Apple Valley, and it is a very epic experience. And I'm really excited for Nicole Callie to be able to, get out and be on that experience. And we went out and gave her that announcement. We did a little bit of a, social post and things like that. So that is in the works. And when that actually happens, we're going to incorporate as many mentors from the Genesis as possible and their own specific expertise. And it's going to be just a really, really exciting thing to be able to partake in. Also, on a more personal note, I am going to be doing something in the firearms realm to bring, awareness and support to the 2A community, as well as suicide awareness and prevention. And I just really was looking forward to something that I could do personally that, would help support these different areas. So look forward to Mission P365 as I go through and shoot the P365 AXG Legion from Sig Sauer over a period of 365 days every single day. I'll go through periodically about 20,000 9mm rounds over the entire year. I'll be tracking the entire thing and putting it up on social media. And it'll just be a really exciting event. We'll get to see how I improve as a shooter. I'm already a pretty decent shooter, but we'll see how those improvements are made, what different types of trainings provide the most improvement. And I'm just really excited to be a part of it. So look forward to that. And let's get back to it.
Academy, we're working with them to incorporate access training for one of their handgun courses. They're one of the largest training centers in America. So we've worked with other instructors, Gary Melton down at Paramount Tactical, to get people to say, look, if you're going to have a handgun safe, you practice your dry fire drills. Your dry every morning. I'm doing my draw. I'm switching to a red dot. So to get that sight picture, it's going to take me probably 4 to 6 weeks of every morning for 10 minutes to get where I'm comfortable with that dot.
Yeah.
And same thing with your access, though. You got to practice that. So we've got a new handgun solution, a series of solutions coming out third quarter this year, which we can brand the actual solution branded for instructors at a small instructors can buy the safes and offer them to their students, 10 at a time. And it's got a aluminum puck around badging on it, which we can laser etch with any logo we want on it. So all the instructors can have their own branded safes. They're very affordable, but allows you the idea of teaching access as part of your, again, people conceal carry and they train for conceal carry. Most people who draw a gun, I think they're at their homes. I could be wrong. I haven't looked at the statistics, but when you're home, most people don't carry in their home. So where's your gun? Well, make sure wherever it is, it should be locked, that you can do that, again, with practice in front of my safe when I'm there. Maybe it's a second and I'm high ready. I mean, it's pretty damn, depending on where the safe is located. I mean, either low or higher. I mean, it's pretty damn quick.
Right. No, I dig it. And I really like the fact that you're coming out with something that's set up specifically for, that self-defense, personal protection aspect in the home, because, I'd love, in fact, we'll end up getting one from you. I'll use it in my trainings because I think it's important and, possibly an affiliation on the Genesis. But
let's talk. We'll talk post show, get you guys set up, because that's a solution that will be out. I got to believe we're going to have these, I think August. It's a big push.
Yeah, no, I mean that's perfect. I like that, you're constantly like on an evolution towards something new. You started out in the military, contractor aspect and you solved that issue and you really got that kind of all mapped out. You don't got to really worry about it. Then you moved on to the civilian aspect and you already moved on to putting, making conversions for safes, which I'm really excited about because the safe that I'm about to put in my house is an older one and some of the stuff's broken in it, so might be looking at a conversion here pretty soon, but there's a whole bunch of different aspects to that. And honestly, if anybody knows, has large amount of guns, I mean, I don't even have a large amount, but it's enough to where if you don't have a place for them and your safe is full and it is hard to, firearms don't sit places very well. Like they're not one of those things that is easily, put anywhere but in a corner. And that's not exactly a place that you want it, I would rather have it, somewhere more accessible than hidden in a corner where when I go to grab it, it's going to snag on something, knock over things. Who knows what's going to happen, right? And so I'm pretty excited about that. But I want to get into the fact that you jumped into rock and ice climbing.
That was rock and ice. Yeah, that was so Jet Computer, my first company. I had two partners, and they were both into rock climbing. So I started getting into it, and one of my partners was a girl, Elizabeth. Her boyfriend was Kevin Thaw. Kevin went on to become one of Great Britain's top mountaineers, rock climbers. The guy was absolutely amazing. He and I became good friends and were climbing together. So I got the opportunity to do things that a lot of fairly novice climbers. Being that I was a guitar player, I couldn't play them, but my hands were so strong from playing guitar. I had a huge advantage getting into rock climbing because that finger strength is really critical. But we did the north face of Mount Athabasca in 1992. That was 2,000 feet of ice climbing up, and it was
2,000 feet of ice.
It was an amazing experience. Yeah, it was a kind of a personal experience, but it's the last time in my life I was ever afraid. Topping out on that climb, Kevin was ahead of me. He's leading. He topped out, and I'm coming up. I'm on a rope. He tops out and walks to the right. We had a 200 foot, 200 yard, 200 foot. We're doing long climbing ropes. We were simul climbing. I'm not going to detail on that, but he tops out. He walks over to the right. It's windy. It's loud. We're way the hell up in this mountain. And the top of the ice is, I've got 10, 12 inches of rock coming over my head, and then it flattens out. The rope is going off to the side at about 45 degrees where he is. So if I fall, I'm going to swing down this mountain into a wall of rock and ice. I'm going to hit hard, and then I'm going to be hanging because the rope's going to be going over this ice cornice on the top of this mountain. So Kevin would have to deadlift me and pull my body over this ice cornice, which is impossible, virtually impossible to do if I'm hurt and I can't also claw into it. Mm-hmm. So I said, you know what? If I fall, I'm screwed. I'm dead in the water. I'm sitting there going, Jesus Christ. And I started thinking for a minute, how did I put myself here? What course got me to this point in my life? I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden a voice that's never happened to me before, just as clear as bell in my head, just said, it's worth it. That was it. Just, it's worth it was so loud. It's like, I stopped. I had a little Minolta film camera in my vest pocket that I could operate with one hand. That's why I used to carry it when I traveled. And so I had 3 points of contact, one of the ice axis, and my feet are in good. So I took my hand and reached out that camera. I opened it with one hand, looked over my shoulder. I shot 2 pictures off the top of that cliff, put it back in my pocket. I reached one hand up with the ice axe, just slid it on the rock. Like I can't see now. It's going over my head. So I'm reaching around behind my head kind of, and it hooks on a little chip of rock. Now there's about 10 inches of snow I'm dragging through, and it hooks. I said, okay. So I committed, and I let go of the other axe and put it up. And now if this thing slides, I'm dead in the water. Slid that one, and it hooked. And as I'm walking my feet up to pull myself over, the farther up I walk, the harder my arms are pulling because I'm kind of cantilevered. And I walked up, pulled myself up on my stomach, and the thing rolled up, and boom, on top of the mountain. I didn't tell Kevin what had happened. I just didn't want to bother him with, because it was a truly dangerous situation that was created because he should have stayed there. He should have stayed.
No, that's what I was thinking in my head. I'm like, he's an expert climber. Wouldn't he?
No, but he's, again,
something like that?
It was a very simple thing of, and he didn't walk that far.
Right.
But it was just enough for the rope to go. He also had way more confidence in my abilities than I did. And he thought, he always said, Tom, you're a much better climber than you think you are. But it was at that moment, though, it's the last time I was ever afraid of anything. And it's a great way to go through life where, I mean, I got into racing cars. I've been doing that and stuff. And there's time when you get scared in a really fast corner racing cars, but it's not debilitating. It's a healthy fear. It's a driving fear. Not like I used to be really afraid of public speaking. I used to be really afraid of certain things. I was like, I got to avoid this. I don't want to do this. All of it was just gone. Just, you know what? It doesn't matter anymore. It's just, I'm going to live my life the way I want to. So it was a great moment. It's something that I still have the 2 photos.
Nice. No, of course you would. I mean, you're like, okay, I see what I can do. And then you made that decision. But, it's times like that, that really teach you something about yourself in the aspects of what you can do in a very paralyzing for some people situation. You know what I mean? Like when you literally have no idea what the next step is, but you have to figure it out in a very short period of time because you don't have we're fighting the sun, which we're going to have. We don't want to come down in the dark. You're fighting cold. There's a lot of stuff going on. And, but it's also, it's, if you allow fear and panic, you lose cognitive ability. And that's so critical to not
And that's what, stress inoculation training, the things that people go through, and especially in the military, is all designed so that in a firefight, you're just cool as a cucumber and you can think, analyze, and respond.
Yeah.
We do that with our locking solutions now. We've introduced this summer or this spring, earlier this spring, HSFA locking on all of our solutions, high stress, fast access locking.
Yeah.
I did a training, we did a training thing last year. It was force on force, live fire simunition training. If you've ever done that, that stuff hurts. I mean, it
It
hurts.
sucks.
But
I mean, we used to shoot each other with BB guns, so.
But during that training, we're in a shoot house down in at Summit Point Training Center. But we had our safes there. We're doing break in with access to the safe. And you realize when people snap into true fight or flight, they can't open a traditional gun safe or anything with the small buttons because you lose the fine motor skill and your hands get jumpy and all these things physiological are changing. So I'm watching this. I'm looking at the video. I'm going, and just a light went on. I said, holy crap. I came back from that trip, and the next day I redesigned the lock just on paper. And I sent it out as a prototype, this 3D print it. We 3D printed it, and with a month, it was the fastest product development we've ever done. And now all of our locks are very simple, large, really large push button locks so that in a true panic situation, you can still do your combination. Because your motor skills, the real small buttons, you're not going to get there if you're in true panic mode. Our buttons are big enough where as long as you're close enough, you're going to get it. We can demonstrate. It's hard to demonstrate without hurting somebody because I can't get you into true fight or flight unless I have convinced you your life's in danger, especially a guy like you that trains a lot. So it's real hard to simulate it unless you take somebody who's fairly naive in firearms and you put them in a really scary situation. And it's not fair to do to them.
Yeah.
But we've kind of tested where you say, okay, here's a save. What I want you to do is open this lock. Now, real calm and quiet, like now, you're going to hear a noise. I'm not telling you what the noise is going to be, but just listen carefully. When you hear the noise, I want you to open that as quick as you can. The noise is firecrackers, guys with baseball bat. It is so unbelievably loud and people running and screaming in their faces.
Yeah.
And they can't do a lock.
Right.
Because they're so frazzled.
Yeah, no, I mean,
the problem is it's unfair to do to somebody. You know what I mean? So
they need to be aware of what happens to them,
right?
Because everybody's different.
But I'd love to find a way to trigger fight or flight that was more. If I worked with a psychologist, I probably could, but I don't think we need. I mean, we can demonstrate that the locking system absolutely works.
We can always ask Dan.
We're just trying to design. Everything we design is designed to take the owner and make them safer, make their guns more secure, but also put them in a better position to defend themselves. Because that's at the end of the day, that's why we do what we do. That's why we all own firearms.
Exactly. I mean, that's the key point. That's one of the reasons why I teach primarily pistol, is because that's the system that's going to be utilized in self-defense more often. Now, racing cars, SCCA.
Yeah, I did. I got into racing. I always thought it was cool, but after driving a 66 Ford Falcon for 8 years, having a business with 25 employees and doing really well, I just drove the shitbox Falcon I just liked it. I bought myself a twin turbo RX-7 93. And then I had the opportunity to go to a track day and take some lessons, basically driving instruction, and really fell in love with it. And then I got a Gen 2 RX-7 as a track car, and then I ended up racing. I built it's called a Spec RX-7. It was an SCCA class on the West Coast, and I raced 4 seasons running the whole series, and I won the championship in 1996 and 1997. I was the class champion. I still hold lap records at many of the tracks in California.
Nice.
And I'm going to get back into it. I've got a track car here, a little Miata that I go to a local track, but I'll get back into racing. As I retire or slowly move on from Securit, I'm looking at like a vintage racing, either a Corvette or a Mustang, or doing something. I'm not sure yet, but this fall, part of it's been a 3-year project. I'm building a Class J land speed record car. So I'm going to Bonneville in August to set a land speed record for Class J. We're Class J blown fuel roadster. So it's a little roadster with a turbocharged. Class J is a motor that's 750 cc's or smaller. So this is a tiny engine.
Ooh,
Nobody's run this class in 60, 70 years because they don't make cars with engines that small anymore. They haven't.
No,
The
they don't.
Crossley was the last car that had an engine that small. So it's an Elmquist Sabre, which is a tiny, tiny car. And I've got a Suzuki GSX 750 motorcycle engine. Carpenter Racing built me 2 of them with this big Garrett turbo. We're running a Heltec injection management system. And if we can get the power down, I can produce almost 400 horsepower with the engine.
Ooh.
So we're,
How wide is it?
How wide?
How light? What's it weight?
Oh, no, it's actually, the car doesn't weigh a lot. It's actually, you want heavy.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm saying. Like how light is that with that much horsepower?
Yeah, the car is gonna come in. I'd like to get 2,200 pounds out of it. We're carrying 75 gallons of water as a cooling system. Now it's so tight because of all the management, the safety reasons for the drive shaft, for the fuel system, for everything. You look at this car and all you see is pipes, hoses, and framework. Fiberglass body goes over it. So it's a really tight fit. My driver's compartment is very small. But the Sabre it's just a cool car. I found an Elmquist Sabre in a field 10 years ago and thought it was one of the coolest looking cars. I bought it for $800 and set off on a journey and realized the history of the car. So I started the restoration, then I sent it to a shop and we got it rebuilt. The car took second place at Amelia Island, which is the #2 car show in the world. And it really is a forgotten piece of history. The Elmquist Sabre is the very first car in America marketed with the idea that you could build your own sports car. The average guy can build the sports car. Remember, back in the early 50s, sports cars didn't exist.
Yeah.
The Corvette came out in 54, but it really wasn't. I mean, look at the early Corvettes. They were closer to tractors than they were to sport. They did not handle well. They were very simple cars, but this was the guys coming out of the war. They see sports cars in Europe. So this was the car that started the whole kit car industry. Nice. And the company, and there's a whole period of time when there were hundreds of companies and sprung up making fiberglass bodies. They all boom and busted.
There was a lot.
The Sabre ran production for about 5-6 years, and as Clearfield Plastics made the car, they had a big fire, and they never came back. But I own 2 of the bodies. There's 5 cars that we know of. I've got my street car, and I was able to acquire a second body, and that's when we decided to build the Land Speed car. So I'm going to have a street car, which is just this beautiful little roadster, tiny, and then I'm going to have the Land Speed car next to it. So we'll see. You know what? My wife's very upset about it. She's not happy with what I'm doing.
You're a gun enthusiast, and you like to spend money on cars.
Well, she was into racing. She's got some seat time in RX-7. She actually could drive pretty quick. This has her freaked out a little bit, and it doesn't. She shouldn't. I mean, it's not.
What's the speed you're trying to break?
Our goal is to get 150. Realistically, the car's capable of a lot more. The challenge is it's not like put your foot down and hold on. It's driving on the salt it's like driving on a road of ice. So as you're going, you're fighting traction. It's about not just how do you make more power, how do you actually get the power down to the road, and how do you overcome?
Salt lines your wheels, right?
Oh yeah, if you've ever people have driven in snow, you know what it's like with older, like in my age, back in the day, you're going 50 miles an hour, you punch it, give it some gas, and your back tires are skidding, you're slowly accelerating, you're just fighting this car that's kind of like a boat now because the back end's sloshing all over. That's kind of what's going on in the salt. So it's all about developing the power and applying it in a smooth, methodical way to slowly accelerate this car.
So do you use a certain kind of like transmission drivetrain, something that gradually assists it to expand?
It's the Suzuki engine and the Suzuki transmission. We took the gears apart. We had them all hardened. And then it's a Hewland quick change rear end, so we can change just standard racing parts, change the rear axle ratio if needed. Yeah. But it's really about, I get the power down, and I run through the gears, 4th gear, and now I'm dialing up the boost on the turbo. That's
Okay.
it's all, but the Haltech system, I've got paddle shifters. I've got buttons on my steering wheel that can increase and decrease boost. I can do gear changes. So it's pretty, again, the level of engineering, the level of work into the car is ridiculous for what we're trying to do. And,
Sounds like
but we
it.
are, I've got a camera guy that I know well coming out. I'll have 2 cameras. We're going to make a 15-minute documentary on the effort, which will be, on the Secure YouTube channel, and we'll get that released as soon as we can. But it'll be a fun effort. It's going to be, for me, life is about experiences. It's, as far as we know, we got one shot at life. So anybody
Rick would
can
love
read
to
a
hear
book
you
or
say
watch
that.
a movie. Well, you can watch a movie about land speed records. You can read a book about it. But until you're sitting there in the cockpit, I don't know what that experience is going to be like. I don't know how scared I'm going to be. I'm sure it's going to be scary.
Yeah.
And it's just because you're jumping into the unknown.
Mhm.
But it's something
Maybe we'll have
that
to cruise up there and watch you do it. It's not that far from here.
now, where are you out of?
We're in St. George, Utah.
Okay, so that's not
So southern Utah. It's like 4 hours
yeah.
from
I
Bonneville.
mean, I'm
5 hours, roughly.
I'll let you know. It's
Yeah.
we got several people coming out, but it'll be yeah, that's gonna be the first week in August. It's gonna be, my sons are coming out with me, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, you're going to be the land speed record. My neighbor, he's running the most half marathons in a row right now. So
Oh,
he's trying
Jesus.
to beat a Guinness Book of World Records. So I think he's like on day 57, 58 right now. So like maybe he's
Wait, he's
60.
running a half marathon every day?
Every single day for a year.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's a lot. So, very stoked about him. I've been thinking about doing my own kind of like 365 day in a row situation, but it would be much simpler for me, except for the fact that it'd take a lot of ammunition. But, I just picked up the Sig Sauer P365 AXG Legion, and that thing is probably the most fun, subcompact pistol that I've ever shot. And
That's funny. It's I'm a 365 XL guy. Love it.
yeah, my wife
Yeah.
has the Rose, and that was what I shot first. And I'm like, I really like this little pistol. And I'm like, so I just went in. I wasn't even thinking about it. I'm a Springfield guy usually, but
Mhm.
I went in and just held this one in my hand. And it was one of those things where I was like, and so now I want to see if I can do it, train with it every single day for a year straight. And then record each training. And then I want to put it online and do that for an entire year.
Oh,
But
that's cool.
to do it efficiently, I want to go through at least the 3 magazines, which is 17 rounds
Mhm.
apiece. So we're looking at 18,000 plus rounds in the year, which isn't astronomical in my opinion, but to perform it every single day and document
That's the
it
thing,
will
is
be,
people usually drop, they'll drop 100 rounds on a Saturday, not,
but
not every
not
single day.
50 rounds a day every day. And honestly, I feel like I would, become exponentially better. So like there's a benefit in it for me, but at the same
I'll tell you
time,
what, you're practicing. I tell you, as a musician, I was a practiceaholic. I was very good at practice, but
Mhm.
there's a magic that happens when I always tell people playing guitar is easy. Play 5 minutes a day, every day, and never skip a day for a year. Never skip. You skip a day, you set back farther than you think. It's that everyday repetition of motor skills. Be amazed at the changes you can do with your body, with your train, with everything you do. If you just simple things done repetitively.
I dig it. Now there are two
The
more
whole
things.
SIG thing, I'll tell you, I'm a SIG guy because I've done a lot of training with Glocks, and nothing wrong with the Glock. I'm not an anti-Glock guy, so my
I'm
hands
not
are
an
sweaty.
anti-Glock
I have a
guy.
hard time holding on to them.
I just don't like the way they feel. Like that's just not my
there's something
ergonomics.
about them for me, but the SIG 320, I picked it up and just like, it was like putting on a glove. I said, that's just, now what's a carry gun? I said, 365. So he said, try the 365 XL. I did some training at Gunsight with a 320 compact, which I liked a lot, but it just fits my hand better. I think all these guns are, from when you look at actual data, they're all really well made.
Yeah.
But the SIGs for me, it's so easy for me to shoot them well because they're made for me. They just fit that well.
I dig it. I think it's important to find the firearm that fits you, that really works for you, because it's not cut and dry situation. The Glock
No.
guys are going to say Glock, Sig guys are going to say Sig,
Yep.
but realistically, it's all about what works for the way that you're going to actually operate it.
Yep.
You know, like I don't
Yep.
prefer any kind of duty gun. I don't like the single action, double action trigger. So most of your CZs, Berettas, things like that, I just don't even bother with, you know, and as much as I really loved shooting that, you know, awesome Sig P226 reserve, that thing, it's like an X5 reserve or something like that.
Yeah.
It's all steel with the grips, everything. The decocker, things like that that are extra on a pistol, I wouldn't remember how to do them. It's an extra step. It's something I don't understand. So I just don't.
1911, yes or no?
Oh, totally 1911 fan.
That's another one of those guns though where I would never think of a 1911 for personal defense.
No,
it's
a competition gun for me.
Yeah.
So,
it's,
you know, I run that thing like it's going out of style. I like shooting expensive pistols. You know, I just don't like buying them.
No, I don't. Actually, I won it in a raffle, a 1911 mil spec out of Springfield. So it's a very stripped down, simple version. And I was always on the offense. I'm never going to buy a knife. Everybody's like, yeah, I get 1911. No, I'm not. Just because everybody said I had to get one, I said, no, I'm not buying one. And then I won one in a raffle.
Now you have one, you know.
I do. So it was a destiny thing.
Definitely. Now I have two more just short things for you.
Yep.
But I want to know about this 3 days in Oklahoma.
Oh, the
elk hunt?
The elk hunt. Yeah, it was I was shooting content for Outdoor Classics. In fact, it'll air this fall.
Oh, nice.
So I had a camera guy with me, and we had a guide, and spent 3 days. Actually, it was a 2 days hunting schedule.
Most of the article. I don't think it. I might have stated exactly how long the hunt was.
Yeah, it was. It was the second day. It was getting later in the day, and we spent a lot of time. Saw a lot of deer, a lot of nice bucks. Saw some monster stag. I'm like, just shoot this thing. It's huge.
That red stag that's in the picture.
Yeah.
It was just, that thing is monster. Yeah.
So we came across this elk, and it was just this big bull. And
dude,
we hunkered down. We were in a field, and we came up on them, and we had some high grass, not high enough, but so we're moving up slowly, and we got into position. Probably it wasn't not a long shot. It was maybe 150 yards. I'm not even sure it was that far. And I've got a what was I shooting? 30-06 rifle. And I'm set up. So we're sitting and the ground's uneven, typical ground scenario. I've got a scope on the gun and I've got it set up. I'm hunkered down. I've got a shooting stick, which I dropped just as part of my stabilization of the gun. And we're sitting there and he's facing us kind of behind a tree. And I say, all he's got to do is just turn and take a step. And we've got him. No problem. He's figuring, okay, so I'm sitting there and you're on the optic and we're all waiting. We sat there for 25 minutes at least. Now, you don't think about it, but the ground's uneven. I'm kind of hunched over. I work out almost every day. I really try to stay as healthy as I can, but sitting in that position after 15 minutes or so, my back is I'm starting to break down because I'm really ergonomically, if I'd known I was going to be there for a half hour,
right,
I would have set up differently because I could have, but now you're already at a point where I really don't want to start changing stuff up. So we're waiting and waiting. Finally, he just turned and he was looking at us. He was stomping his foot. He was mad. He knew we were there. And he turned and just presented him side. And I let the guy, trigger broke, round went off. I racked it again as fast as I could because, again, I've never been elk hunting. He said, you're going to take 2 or 3 rounds to get these guys down. I said, really?
Yeah.
And I racked it again. I get on him, and he stood there and just fell over.
Nice.
And, first round went right through the top of his heart. And, it was a good shot. And then, it was interesting because it's a preserve, which is a different experience, but we get this thing back to their barn and everything. And I jump in with the knives and I help skin it. And these guys were funny because they're not used to clients wanting to do any of the work.
Oh, that's
I said,
weird.
no, man, show me how to, I've never skinned an elk before. And I've got I'm going to do a European mount, which they told me I was nuts. I said, no, I want a European mount. We're building a big log cabin hunting lodge. It'll be perfect over the fireplace. But I did get the cape tan. So I can make a full mount if I ever wanted to out of it. And then They said, "Do you want the meat?" I'm like, "Sure. Yeah, hell yeah, I do."
Mhm.
So they got that, filled the paperwork. I get back to my office. All of a sudden, I get my credit card gets charged for like $1,500 shipping. I'm going,
Yeah.
holy, I'm thinking, I get it. They really stung me on the freight, but you know what? So who cares?
You don't
It was a
realize how
fun.
many pounds that is.
That was it because they ship it overnight. That
Yeah,
was 375 pounds of meat.
exactly. Like your elks
So
are massive.
I had to go. I actually got all the meat. I got home and I got all these cardboard boxes that are pretty beat up now. And I immediately had to run to Lowe's and buy another chest freezer. I didn't have enough room.
Hmm.
And but I'll tell you that it was a preserve hunt, and it was a really fun experience.
It
But it's
looked
not
like
the
a cool
same.
experience.
It's not the same as going up into the Rockies and
Right,
doing an elk
right.
hunt.
I didn't know if that.
Yeah, it's not, and I don't want people to think that that's some badass hunt. When you're in a preserve like that, yeah, we
It's
logged a lot
more
of
along the
miles.
lines of an awesome bull. Like
Yeah,
seeing that bull, I was like,
it
that's a
really
nice
is.
looking bull.
And for me, it's I'm more about the experience. I hunt a lot. I've got a big hunting ranch, and I could spend days in a tree every morning. And like, gee, Tom, you didn't get anything? No, but I had a great freaking morning. Just sitting
Right.
in a tree stand watching the forest wake up there's nothing. There's no better place to be. If you get lucky enough or you get the opportunity to get some meat in the freezer, that's great. But just watching what a forest does as it goes from dark and transitions to light, all the stages is I always just find it fascinating.
Definitely. I mean, just being able to experience, a beautiful nature scape
Oh
in
yeah.
general at
Yep.
dawn is just, it's one of my favorite things. I used to go and help my brother-in-law actually in national parks. It's the only time I'd go work with him doing construction and stuff, but just so I could be there during the
Yeah.
morning and just watching the sun come up and all the animals, and just, it's a different
Yep.
building experience. You know what I mean? You're in a special
You know,
place and it's
people that
different.
sleep in, people that get up at 9, 10 o'clock, they don't get it. They're missing the magic of the day. Is as
It
that
really
light
is.
comes up over the horizon and the world wakes up. If you're outside, I've got a cat, my daughter's cat, great personality. We get up in the morning, go out and sit in my front porch. He comes out and I have my coffee, and he just sits and listens to all the different birds, and it changes over
Oh
15
yeah.
minutes at different levels of light. And he joins me every morning now. We just sit and listen to all the animals, and we go back inside. It's pretty funny.
It is, but that's the fun thing about it is that if we're built the same as the rest of the plants and the animals and stuff
Yeah.
like that, that bird chirp is what's supposed to wake us up. It's what invigorates the
So
leaves to start accepting light and all
yep.
that stuff. So that's what time we should be waking up.
It's
Realistically.
I mean my natural if I and I don't use alarm clocks. I'm pretty good. My natural function would be to go to bed around 9 ish.
Mhm.
I'm usually up around between 3:30 and 4:30,
Yeah,
and I get
that's
up.
usually
I do
mine.
I do all work. I do some health stuff. I
Yeah.
don't. I typically don't eat until 1 o'clock
Oh,
in the
nice.
afternoon, and
So when's the last time you eat? Like, what's your intermittent fast schedule like?
I'll do like a around noonish a small steak, and then I do a for dinner I'll do a ribeye or I'm a carnivore, so I eat red meat and
Yeah.
water.
Nice. I
Um,
mean, I'm not
I'm-
I'm not full carnivore, but I stick to pretty much only eating eggs and meat every day.
yeah, I'll
Almost.
do occasionally. I'll do some eggs. I've got it. I stray off of it, and I went carnivore not because I was a badass or something, but
Mhm.
I just had some significantly deteriorating health issues, and it was
Mhm.
getting bad. And I was at that point with my wife saying, honey, look, if we're going to do stuff, we better do it because in 10 years, I am not going to be moving around well. I got really bad arthritis. I've had
Mhm.
high blood. I mean, all that my liver was failing. It just is a cascade of things. Out of desperation, I started reading up, I just said, what the hell am I trying? I went carnivore. 4 months in, I felt a lot better. 6 months in, my blood work was spot on. And I never
Yeah.
looked back. But if I go off now, like if I have a couple glasses of wine, I pay for it. Next 3 days, I mean, my back is sore, my legs hurt, my arthritis is
Yeah.
bad. It's unfortunate. I've got a wine cellar, and I love a good glass of bourbon now and then, or a nice single malt scotch with a cigar.
Mhm.
But I'm not sure I can ever do that again. I don't know. It's
You
right
know,
now. I'm going to go to September 1st without drinking this whole summer, and
nice.
trying to be as pure as I can. I had some baked beans the other day. I made homemade baked beans for the rest of the family. I tried them. I'm just like, the next day, I just felt like shit.
You're like, there's too much sugar in there. You know,
I
you
don't
don't
know.
realize what sugar does to you either.
Once your body gets used to this really clean, no toxin diet, you lose your resistance because everybody has resistance. I mean, America eats the worst possible diet you can imagine.
That's crazy.
There's a reason that America leads the world in cancer. We lead the world in arthritis. We lead the world in diabetes.
Alzheimer's, probably.
Yeah. Italians live 11 years longer than Americans.
Yeah. And they smoke nonstop and drink.
Yeah, exactly. But what they sell in a grocery store is toxic. If you look at, I call it micro poisoning, all the acceptable levels of arsenic and mercury and all the shit that gets in you, there's acceptable levels.
Which
and they allow
be.
that. The problem is if you're eating a steady diet of this kind of food, those levels are acceptable when you eat it once in a while. But what's happening is you can have mercury or arsenic slowly building up in your system over years. If you're able to methylate or get rid of, let's say, 85% of the toxins in your body every day, but you're adding 100, you keep adding to it, you're slowly building up. And that's why you see these people with, every autoimmune disorder, Crohn's disease, anything like that.
Yeah.
It's your diet. It's driven. It's not every bit of research. I spent a lot of time on this for the last 3 years doing medical research for myself. And it all comes back to what we're eating. That's my opinion. And I think I can back it up given time. But I tell anybody who's facing those issues, try carnivore. Try it for 90 days. The world's not going to change. Just try it. And most people will not even try it. But the ones that do will come back to me in 6 weeks and say, dude, this is unbelievable.
You know, it's so evident.
I've not felt this good. And it's amazing. And then I'm still amazed at how many of them ultimately go back to eating shit and feeling like crap. I don't get it. I mean, for me, I got one shot at life. I mean, I'm 63. In 10 years, I'm 73. 20 years, I'm 80. I'm running out of time.
Right.
I'm running out of time. If I lived to 93, that's great, but I'm not going to be jumping off the back of my truck when I'm 93. I can tell you that. Maybe. I can still do that. So I'm
like thinking to myself, I'm like, maybe, you never know how far it'll take you.
But remember, we don't slow down because we get old. We get old because we slow down.
Yeah, emotions slow down.
Age is the radical pursuit of comfort. And that's I really focus hard on just every morning starting my day in a way that builds strength, builds things. And
it's funny you say that because like there's a practice that I do, like there's lots of people that fast and like eat carnivore or whatever. But what I'll do for like mental like strength is while I'm fasting, I'll be preparing everything I'm going to eat at the end of my fast.
There you go.
And I can't touch it or taste it or anything like that. So there's several factors there. Like I have to get past my want and desire to make everything perfect when I'm cooking it. So because I can't taste it. So I don't know. I'm just going off of my normal skills. Right. And then I also have to resist the fact that I'm going through and it smells so good and all these things are happening. Just resist that until the end. And it's a hard thing to do, to be honest with you.
It's, as a carnivore, I'll tell you this. I don't get involved in the making of brownies. My daughter loves to make brownies. She's really
I like that.
Brownies. Because you know what happens is I'll try a little bit of the dough. I'll try a little bit of the dough. Next thing you know, I got 2 tablespoons of raw dough, and then I'm eating 5. I mean, I go downhill fast if it's good chocolate.
Yeah, so I'm like that with taffy. I don't buy taffy because I love saltwater taffy. It's just one of those things.
Peanut M&Ms. I mean, M&Ms are horrible. It's the chemicals and that shit. But peanut M&Ms, man, you put a jar of those. We had a jar somebody left in the office. I threw it away because I said, guys, we're going to kill ourselves.
Yeah. No, you got to know where your weakness lies, and just avoid that.
Put yourself in a position to be successful. Sometimes that means don't be around the stuff you have a hard time with. And it's easy as long as you don't start. But I know if I walk by and grab 3 M&Ms, every time I walk by that jar, I'm going to grab 3 more. And that's how food is designed. I mean, all the chips, the tobacco industry bought the food industry when tobacco could no longer advertise on TV. Anybody Google search largest M&A deals, largest acquisitions in the 70s, it was tobacco industry buying Nabisco, buying all the big food companies, and they took their science of nicotine And
Gotta apply it to
scientists
food.
are designing food to be addictive. Why is it when you grab a Dorito, you have to grab another one?
Yeah.
That's chemically, they're doing it. They're triggering
They're doing it with
dopamine hits in your
color,
brain.
flavor, dopamine effects.
It's
Like
all
the
about
chemicals they
dopamine.
put in it
Yep.
are addictive. It's not
Yep.
the actual product; it's the chemicals
Nope.
that are addictive.
And the government's complicit, and not complicit, they're just stupid in allowing this to happen.
Well,
And
it's
America's
a
got
big
to wake
cycle.
up.
You know,
I
all
know
the corporations
people.
feeding everything else, the healthcare system to
Yep.
everything else. It's just a dynamic to keep it all running.
People have to stop just listening to their doctor and saying okay, because the doctors don't remember. Nutrition is not part of medical training.
Yeah.
That's why when you go to your doctor and something's out of whack, they give you a pill to fix the symptom, but they never actually address the issue. Like I had high blood pressure. I had really bad arthritis, and they just kept me more and more medications, more and more pills. Well, why do you have high blood pressure? Well, heredity.
Yeah.
I go,
Where's the
really?
causation?
Nobody else might. And it's not. And I started, I changed my diet, and I started taking TMG, trimethylglycine, which is naturally occurring in your body. It's cheap to buy. It's a little white powder. It's what your body produces to keep your arteries soft. I just started taking it. Blood pressures. I mean, I was on meds at 135 over 185, 190. I don't take anything. I'm 123 over 72, except for trimethylglycine, which is a naturally occurring substance your body produces. As I get older, I'm not producing enough of it. And it's cheap. It cost me, I spent $12 for a bag of it that lasts me 2 years.
Yeah.
But the pharmaceuticals make no money on me. And they used to make a lot.
Oh yeah, I used to be on like 9 different medications at one point.
I told my wife, I'm not taking pills again.
Yeah,
I said, I will take, if I get an infection, I'll take penicillin. I had shoulder surgery. I took a pain pill, just one. And that's, I get, but I'm not, this thing of like, we want you to take this pill every day for the rest of your life. I'm saying, I'm not doing it. Like, if that means I die 10 years earlier, I don't care.
Exactly.
I'm not going to live by those rules.
Plus, you know, it also teaches you just not to just fall into the program, like to really research, do your own, you know, studies. Because also everybody's different, you know, so something that may not have worked for someone else might work for you. You just don't know. And so you got to get out there and actually try it out and see what happens.
Yep, absolutely.
But, well, Tom, I think that's pretty much everything.
We covered a lot, didn't we?
Yeah, no, we had a good time. You know, I think we did like an hour and a half, which is always a good conversation. But I think everybody, you know, is really, really going to enjoy it. And we'll kind of stay on and have a little conversation about some stuff on the Genesis. But thank you very much for joining us on the M42 Adventures podcast. And I hope everybody takes away something. I mean, we talked about so many different things. There's a lot to, you know, kind of take things from.
You definitely hit a lot of stuff.
But I like that because, you know, in that situation, it shows, you know, that like somebody like yourself that's successful and, you know, and in the firearm industry, like that's not as simple as it is. Like there's a lot more to you and what makes up, you know, Tom. And I really like it. So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a good conversation. I really enjoyed it.
All right. Thank you.
Well, wasn't that a lot of fun? I had a good time talking with Tom. He is very diverse. He crossed lots of different platforms. He's had a pretty exciting life, lots of adventure, which fits right in with what we're doing. One of the key things we talked about a little bit afterwards was getting some of the Security systems, especially the handgun systems, for being able to be utilized in some of our trainings, as well as offer all of the systems at a discount for the Genesis online community. We'll see where that goes, but thank you very much to Tom, and I am really excited for this first interview on the M42 Adventures podcast. Hopefully I'll be doing a couple more here and there when I can. So thank you very much. We'll see y'all next time.